people that won't admit their mistakes. There are a few people that obviously have got on the bandwagon about 9/11 and talked about controlled demolition. And they don't want to admit that they were fooled by that because it then feels that they damages their reputation.
I mean, that is the main consensus of theory that people have about 9/11, the controlled demolition.
If that's the alternative one,
that's what, the alternative outside of the official story. And most people.
One thing I was going to say earlier, and on that is that people talk about there being bombs in the building, and I don't know, frankly, whether there were bombs planted in the building or not. Any bombs planted in the building, because then they say, "Oh, but what are about the accounts of explosions?" And I'll say, well, as Dr. Judy Wood says, everything that bombs go boom, but not everything that goes boom is a bomb. So you have to distinguish between explosives and explosions. For example, fire extinguisher, if that gets shot with a bullet, it will explode. It will make an explosive sound. You know, if the bullet penetrates the wall of the container. So you've got to distinguish that. But what I say to people is it doesn't really matter whether there were bombs in the World Trade Center buildings or not, because the stories of there being bombs in there have worked as part of the cover-up. Somebody said, "Oh well, what if they put bombs in to distract from the energy weapon?" Well, they might have, but it doesn't really matter. It's the energy weapon which people don't know about. Everyone knows what a bomb is. You learn what a bomb is when you're about 3. You know? Why you want to talk about bombs, for heaven's sake? Let's talk about the buildings turning to dust. You know, I mean, that's source of great frustration when I'm talking
the footage,
about.
You know, the metal things turning.
The steel.
Nothing's fallen on it at that point.
Just dissolved.
You know, and people want evidence of stuff that's really weird. There it is, right in front of you, on one of the most horrendous days, you know, in history. Not just one video, but 10 videos, thousands of pictures, showing you that that material is not doing what ought to be done in the normal physical world that we live in. It's proof, right in your face.
People say, well, you don't know of a technology that did that, so therefore it didn't, happen. Wait, you start out with determining what happened first. It's very important, because if you start out with what you know, you won't get there because you've never seen this before. But we know it happened, so therefore there is a technology that exists that can do this. As we've seen, the evidence is showing us a different story than what we were led to believe. Now this toasted bus, notice there's no big flame marks running up beside the bus. No scorch marks. We have also this vehicle that's already rusted. You can see building 7 is still standing. Every car up this road was toasted in some way.
So we'll go back to the building 7 again. And so was that same weapon used on that?
Yeah, I mean that again. The real slam dunk for that, which I now show to people since we got the clip, although the clip's been around for years and years. So there is a video which I've made. It's 2 minutes long, and it's an interview with a. First minute is the destruction of the Ocean Tower building, which I think was in Florida, which they built. It was some type of hotel complex which was built on some dodgy ground. I think there was slightly shifting ground or something, or not firm, and there were cracks appeared in the structure after they built it, and there was a big argument and blah blah blah. Was it the Ocean Tower? Yeah, it was. And they eventually, after about 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, had to demolish it because there was nothing else they could do with it. And it was going to be. They'd already spent about $50 million on it to develop this complex, but then they realised they'd shot it, they couldn't build it because it was too damaged, the building was already too damaged. They had to bring it down, controlled demolition. So you've got this picture of this tower coming down, I think it's like 25 stories or something, it's fair size, you know. And it's Controlled Demolition Inc. that did it, and they have the video, and it's about a quarter of a mile away, this building, and you hear this boom, 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 and down it comes. I then cut to the 9/11 lady called Barbara Crowley. She's an EMT, emergency medical technician. She's been interviewed by a guy from Channel 7 or something, and she's got a microphone in front of her. She's saying, we need medical supplies, we need water, we need food for these firemen that are working around the site, you know, and still rescuing people, come down, you know. And as she's saying this, there's Building 7 in the background of the shot. It's about 3-4 blocks away. Right. Down it goes. Right. And the guy says, Building 7's just gone down. She goes, what's happened? What happened? Building 7. Doesn't even hear it. Can't hear it on the film. She doesn't even hear it. Right. She's about 4 or 5 blocks away.
Speak up. Your name, ma'am?
Barbara Crowley.
C-R-O-W-L-E-Y.
NYU Medical Center.
Okay, tell me what you know.
All I know at this point is they're trying to establish an outdoor hospital facility like we've set up at Chelsea Piers, a triage unit for the personnel that are attending to the scene, not to the injured in the scene. They can't get in to get any casualties out at this time. They don't know the extent of it at this point. What we're doing now is going up to get medical supplies, to bring down trauma physicians down here, to set up the surgical unit and the triage unit down here, in addition to, if anybody out there can help, any vendors who have food or supplies. The firemen have no food, nothing but snacks. They need fluids, they need water, and they need protein foods. This is just the beginning of what they're facing. So we need masks. We need TB masks. Holy shit! What is it?
Just went down.
What just went down?
World Trade 7.
It did go down before.
No, 7. Number 7.
Oh my God!
That proves it's not controlled demolition. Not only that, but there was no seismic signature. 0.6. Less than that's like what you get when you hit a jackhammer on the ground. For a 47-story building.
No explosions there. It's not explosions.
It appears that it was dissolved. It was destroyed over a longer period than the towers. They took from about maybe 10, 11 o'clock in the morning until 5. So it's done over about 6, 7 hours maybe. And then the interior was dustified, and what you saw was just a shell going down.
I mean, just in the videos of the Twin Towers getting down, the sound's more like a hissing sound.
Yeah. And you know, you should see those clips of the firemen saying, "Oh, these floors were popping out." But what we would argue is, and we've got witness testimony of this. Rennie Davila, for example, who was one of the firefighters that mentioned in Dr. Judy Wood's talk, his fire truck blew up. The whole fire truck blew up, and this is on the ground. And other firemen were reporting that the Scott packs, which are air tanks, basically, you know, like scuba tanks, you know, that they use to go into buildings, they were exploding on the backs of the trucks. Why would air tanks explode on the backs of trucks? That's where you got the explosive sounds. That's why people thought they were bombs, because you got these tanks exploding. Fire extinguishers I mentioned before, pressurised tanks. They were in the water system in the World Trade Center. They had to pump the water up, like 2, 3 floors at a time. So you had pressurised tanks at various points in the towers to help the water be pumped around to the various toilets and showers and whatever else was in there. What about when the metal skin on those tanks gets weakened by this metal dissolving technology? That's going to explode. So that, to me, would account for all the explosions in the tower. Did they also put in some bombs? I don't know. I don't care.
It doesn't matter, does it?
No.
You know, because the explanation is already there. It covers everything.
And so, what's in Dr. Wood's book accounts for pretty much everything that was seen and heard on that day. You know, yes, there may be other things that were done which we can't prove whether they were done or not because there's no evidence left. But certainly the buildings were turned to dust with an energy weapon, and that's the irrefutable proof of that is and has been available for 10 years.